phone buzzed against the glass like a wasp, and the room shrank around the sound. Alex said, "Whose message is that, Lily?" Lily's shoulders lifted, small and slow, and her gaze slid away. A preview flashed a grin under office lights and a line that felt surgical. Alex said, "Working late, right?" Lily said, "It is just a coworker asking about a file." My thumb pressed before I could stop, and the lock gave with a soft click. The thread wore a single initial and a red heart like a bruise. Alex said, "You hid this." Lily said, "Please do not make a scene." The first photo showed her hand on a desk that was not ours. The second line read, "I don't think he will ever find out." Heat rose, and the air turned thin, and the rain outside drummed like a count. Lily stepped forward, and guilt sparked into anger, sharp and bright. Alex said, "Tell me the truth." Her palm cracked the room, and silence crashed in after it. Dawn pressed a gray film over the kitchen, and the clock stuttered through each minute. Lily said, "You read it wrong." Alex said, "I read what it meant." The kettle hissed like a fuse, and then fell quiet. She moved with careful grace, as if the floor might break. Alex said, "Who is he?" Lily said, "No one you know." The lie sat there, tidy and polished, and it hurt worse for that. My cheek throbbed, and shame and fury wrestled until neither could breathe. Alex said, "You said you were at work." She stared at the window as if it could answer for her. The rain had stopped, but puddles held the night like black mirrors. I packed my bag and felt the strap bite, and the house felt smaller than the truth. The elevator hummed like a held breath, and the lobby smelled of wet concrete and toner. Jordan said, "You good, man?" Alex said, "Long night." The doors slid open on our floor, and quiet spread like a rumor. Desks glowed in that too honest office light, and my pulse counted cables. Alex said, "Focus on the brief." Screens blinked, and a reflection showed a doorway that matched the photo. My chest tightened, and the memory snapped into place like a trap. Jordan said, "You sure you want to be here?" Alex said, "I need to be here." The clock on the wall ticked in a slow scold. Somewhere a phone buzzed twice, and the sound felt like a dare. Maya found me by the copy room where the hum could hide anything. Maya said, "You look wrecked." Alex said, "I found messages." Her brow folded, and she set a hand on my arm like a truce flag. Maya said, "Do not do this alone." Alex said, "It might be someone here." The words tasted like metal, and I swallowed hard. She weighed her silence like a secret that might bite. Maya said, "Check facts, not feelings." Alex said, "Feelings found the door." A printer clacked, and paper slid out like evidence. I nodded, and the fear steadied into a slow, useful burn. At my desk, the cursor blinked like a heartbeat that refused to quit. Alex said, "Start simple." I opened the calendar, and gaps lined up with lies like teeth. An expenses report showed a rideshare to a block near our office at midnight. Alex said, "Working late, right?" The chat icon pulsed, then went still, like it feared me. A photo attachment from last week caught a reflection of a blue door I passed daily. Alex said, "Not an accident." The room fell very quiet, and every chair seemed to listen. I saved everything with hands that stopped shaking, only when the plan did not. The parking lot held its breath while wipers clicked a slow metronome. Alex said, "You knew better and walked in anyway." My hands tightened on the wheel until the leather creaked. The mirror showed the mark on my cheek like a headline. Alex said, "Do not look away." A calendar alert chimed, a fake kindness. I pictured Lily laughing under office lights that were not ours. Alex said, "What did I miss?" Memory shuffled scenes where trust felt easy. The easy parts hurt most because they asked to be believed. Alex said, "You promised me ordinary, and I built a life on it." A text from Maya surfaced, brief and steady, asking if I needed coffee. Alex said, "Yes, please." I pressed send and watched rain pool like unshed words. The memory came like steam over a winter table and would not leave. Lily said, I love how quiet you get when you decide. Alex said, I just choose us. The waiter laughed, and candles made halos in the glass. Lily said, we could try the lake this spring. I saw her hands shaping futures I wanted to trust. Alex said, let us make a map and keep it. She smiled like maps were easy and weather always fair. The present cut in like a cold draft under the door. Alex said, when did that smile learn to lie to me? The plates in memory clinked until the sound was only blame. Lily said, you and me against the noise. I tasted the promise, and it broke like sugar in rain. The break room hissed with an espresso shot, and the ache of fluorescent hum. Jordan said, you look like you fought a storm. Alex said, the storm fought me. He handed me a cup that smelled like rescue. Jordan said, do you want facts or comfort? Alex said, I want ground that holds. He nodded, eyes skimming the door like a lookout. Jordan said, if it is here, we handle it smart. Alex said, I cannot unsee what I saw. He said, then let it teach you where to step. The cup warmed my hands the way truth rarely does. Alex said, I hate that I still want to believe her. Jordan said, wanting is not guilt, it is grief learning to walk. Maya found a small conference room and closed the door like a seal. Maya said, talk me through the proof. Alex said, texts, times, a photo, a door I passed daily. She set her notebook down like a runway. Maya said, do not chase shadows, chase patterns. Alex said, my chest is a pattern of alarms. She drew a box and wrote names like they were suspects. Maya said, protect yourself, gather, do not accuse yet. Alex said, waiting feels like drowning slow. She met my eyes, steady as a metronome in a storm. Maya said, truth deserves clean hands. Alex said, then I will wash mine in facts. The clock ticked, and resolve started to sound like breath. Lunch came and went like a headline I refused to read. Alex said, write what you need to be okay. I opened a notes page and gave the words a spine. Alex said no more midnight alibis. The list grew teeth and stopped apologizing. Alex said, no phones face down at dinner. I added, if it is a coworker, we set distance or we end this. The last line sat there, simple and fierce. Alex said, I still love you, and I will not bleed for it. The air steadied around that sentence like a room finally level. Jordan pinged a thumbs up, and Maya sent a check mark. I saved the document and felt something inside choose me. The afternoon ticked like a metronome in an empty rehearsal hall, and I carried suspicion like a second skin. Alex said, every excuse grows teeth if you feed it. The office chatter dimmed as Lily passed by with a smile that cracked too wide. Alex said that smile used to be mine. Jordan leaned near, voice hushed, saying, she left early last Thursday. The words slid into me sharper than glass. I replayed that night, her text about an all-hands that never happened. Alex said, what else has she dressed in lies? The ceiling lights hummed, and even the carpet seemed complicit. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through locations, and each pin stabbed where trust once lived. Their well smelled of dust and paint, a place for secrets to echo. Alex said, tell me straight, Jordan. He shifted, uneasy, eyes flicking downward. Jordan said, I saw her near the east exit with someone. Late, close. The words landed like thunder behind ribs. Alex said, do you know who? Jordan shook his head, voice cracking. I think it was someone from finance. I gripped the rail until it groaned. Alex said finance, of all places. His silence felt guilty, like he knew more. The echo of footsteps above us snapped both our heads upward, but the landing was empty. The truth was turning shadows into suspects. I sat in my car during break, screen light bleeding against the rain-dark glass. Alex said, search deeper. The phone buzzed with saved ride-share receipts, each line a breadcrumb. One stood out, time-stamped 11:58 p.m., drop-off near the East Block. Alex said, working late, she said. My chest caved as the GPS pinned a coffee shop 2 blocks from the office. I tapped images from that night, shadows blurred in glass, one with her auburn hair unmistakable. Alex said, "Why keep lying when silence is enough to kill?" The wipers swept once, clearing nothing but adding rhythm to betrayal. Evening crept over the office like smoke, shadows lengthening across cubicles. Maya joined me near the window, her voice low. Maya said, "You are chasing ghosts." Alex said, "Ghosts leave footprints." I showed her the screenshots, each one a shard. Maya said, "It fits, but it still bleeds guesswork." Alex said, "She left me no clean lines." Outside, neon signs flickered to life, reflections warping across glass. Maya said, "Truth requires daylight, not suspicion at dusk." I wanted to believe her, but the evidence hummed too loud. Alex said, "Daylight is coming. I'll be ready." Night followed me home like an accusation. The kitchen light was too bright, the silence too loud. Lily stood near the counter, phone in hand, thumb frozen mid-scroll. Alex said, "Long day, huh?" Her eyes lifted, quick, guilty sparks she tried to drown in calm. Lily said, "Exhausting." My stomach turned, not from hunger but from absence. Alex said, "Do you ever think lies leave stains?" She blinked, slow, unsure of her script. The refrigerator hummed, mocking in its steadiness. I pulled out the list I had written and set it down between us. Alex said, "Pick truth, or pick the door." The office hushed like a church after hours, and suspicion became scripture. Alex said if she lied, the building remembers. I swiped through door logs, lines of data scrolling like confessions. A timestamp blinked, 12:03 a.m. entry when she swore she was home. Alex said, "There it is." My pulse quickened, loud against the silence. The janitor passed, pushing a cart that squeaked like a warning. Alex said, "Patterns don't lie. People do." I screenshotted the entry, storing it like armor. The air smelled of toner and betrayal. I whispered, "Show me all your shadows." Maya met me in the archive room where dust turned golden in stray light. "I'll dig. Maya said, "You shouldn't dig alone." Alex said, "She entered past midnight." Maya frowned, flipping through files. Maya said, "That's not work, that's hiding." Her tone was steady, but her eyes were knives. Alex said, "The logs are my proof." The hum of the old copier swelled like a pulse. She placed a hand on the page saying, "Do not rush into war unarmed." Alex said, "What if the war is already burning?" The dust thickened, and every breath tasted of secrets. The break area smelled of burnt coffee, and betrayal tasted stronger. Jordan sat stiff, eyes darting as if he carried weight he couldn't drop. Alex said, "What did you see?" He swallowed, voice thin, her with Ethan. "Late, too close." My throat burned, the name hitting like a gavel. Alex said, "Ethan, from finance." Jordan nodded, gaze falling to his hands. The clock ticked heavy, and the sound grew louder than his words. Alex said, "Why keep it from me?" Jordan whispered, "Because truth ruins lives." I said, "Lies ruin worse." The silence after cracked like glass, under pressure. The parking deck was a graveyard of echoes, and truth stalked me like headlights. Alex said, "Ethan." The name slipped out like poison. Footsteps tapped behind me, and shadows stretched. Ethan's laugh floated across the deck, careless and bright. Alex said, "This is where you end your hiding." He turned, phone glow painting his face, unaware I was watching. The concrete reeked of oil and rain. I gripped the evidence in my pocket until my fingers ached. Alex said, "When trust dies, it dies loud." His laughter died as if the air cut it short. Silence flooded in, sharp and final. Home was no longer safe. It was a stage built for lies. The list I had written sat on the table like scripture waiting for judgment. Lily entered, keys jingling too lightly. Alex said, "You were with Ethan." She froze, eyes wide, then narrowed, a mask slipping. Lily said, "He's just a friend." Alex said, "Friends don't meet at midnight in hidden corners." The refrigerator hummed louder, as if pushing the silence. She set her bag down, the thud final. Alex said, "Every secret has a price," she whispered, "and every truth breaks more than you know." The night swallowed the words whole. Morning arrived brittle, sun pale against blinds that cut light into bars. Alex said, "The truth wears his name now." The documents on my desk glared louder than alarms. Ethan Moore from finance. His signature traced across reports Lily claimed to finish. Alex said their hands wrote together. The realization felt like frost on bone. I pressed the papers flat, each line betraying more than words should. Maya said, "This is more than an affair. It's a partnership in secrets." I nodded, throat raw. Alex said, "So it was Ethan all along." The office buzzed outside, but inside silence boiled, unforgiving. The cafeteria smelled of grease and secrets. Jordan leaned close, voice thin. Jordan said, "I didn't tell you before because I wasn't sure." Alex said, "Sure enough to hide it." He swallowed, eyes wet. Jordan said, "I saw them together." Ethan kissed her. It wasn't work. The words stabbed, each sharper than the last. My tray rattled as I gripped the edge, refusing to crumble in front of others. Alex said, "You should have told me the second you knew." Jordan said, "I thought you'd break." I whispered, "I broke anyway." The clatter of cutlery around us mocked the sound of my heart splitting. The conference room reeked of lies masked in polish. Ethan walked in, tall and smug, tie loosened like rules never touched him. Alex said, "How long have you been stealing her from me?" He smirked, eyes darting just enough to confirm guilt. Ethan said, "Watch your tone." My chest burned as I stepped closer. Alex said, "You met her in shadows, you kissed her behind my back, you used the hours meant for us." He laughed once, brittle. Ethan said, "She came to me. Don't act like you kept her." His words shattered any pieces left of mercy. The walls pulsed with the echo of betrayal. Evening bled through the windows as Lily appeared, her steps rehearsed, her eyes darting. Alex said, "You could have chosen honesty." She bit her lip, silence louder than excuses. Ethan shifted beside her, hands in pockets, daring me to break. Alex said, "Do you love him?" She whispered, "I don't know." The words twisted worse than any denial. Ethan said, "She deserves better than doubt." My fists clenched, not for violence, but to hold the rage steady. Alex said, "Better than loyalty, than love, than a home you burned." Her tears slipped, silent, and still her mouth trembled with lies unspoken. Night's silence broke only by the ticking clock. Lily sat at the edge of the couch, shoulders hunched. Alex said, "You gave me scraps while he feasted." She sobbed, face buried in her hands. Alex said, "Was I blind, or did you want me blind?" She looked up, eyes rimmed red. Lily said, "I never meant to hurt you." Alex said, "You meant to hide, that's worse." The list lay between us, no longer demands but gravestones. I pointed at the final line. Alex said, "Truth or door?" She stared long, then whispered, "I already chose." Silence swallowed everything else. The conference room felt like a stage where every breath was evidence, and I refused to whisper. Alex said, "We are done with shadows." Lily looked at the blinds as if light could hide her. Ethan leaned back, casual as a thief in his own museum. Alex said, "Door logs, receipts, and a photo that did not belong to us." He smirked like rules were weather. Ethan said, "You are reading tea leaves." Maya slid a folder forward with steady hands, and did not blink. Maya said, "Numbers do not lie, and these numbers rhyme." Lily said, "Please stop." The plea arrived late and smaller than it needed to be. Alex said, "You fed me alibis while he clocked in your midnights." Jordan shifted near the door, a witness who wished for softer truth. Alex said, "I loved you, and you treated love like a budget line to cut." Ethan said, "She chose better." The sentence snapped like a bone I could finally set straight. Alex said, "No, she chose louder lies." Silence tightened, and the ceiling hummed like a verdict being typed. I placed the list between us, the last line bright as a flare. Alex said, "Truth or door," and the door is open now. The hallway swallowed sound, and the carpet drank every step like regret. Lily said, "It was never supposed to get this far." Alex said, "It got exactly where you drove it." She pressed a palm to the wall, as if the paint could absolve her. Alex said, "Tell me why his name lived in your pocket." She exhaled, a tremor searching for a place to land. Lily said, "You were distant, and he felt like oxygen." The word cracked the plaster of my patience, but I kept my hands open. Alex said, "You mistook novelty for breath." She flinched and found anger, quick and practiced. Lily said, "You made everything about duty, and I wanted to feel alive." Alex said, "I wanted to keep us alive." The exit sign buzzed like an insect trapped in heat. Alex said, "You could have asked for air instead of striking a match." She looked small against the long bright line of institutional light. Lily said, "I am sorry, but sorry does not rewind anything." Alex said, "It does not, and I will not try to rewind you." The door at the end of the corridor clicked, waiting like a sentence. "Ah." Alex said, "Choose, and live with the weight of it." Ethan waited near the elevators, grin sharpened into something easy to hate, and I let the quiet frame him. Alex said, "You wanted to win a game no one sane plays." He rolled his shoulders like victory lived there. Ethan said, "You were never enough for her drive." The words were cheap, and yet they tried to wear a crown. Alex said, "You confuse hunger with worth." The elevator chimed, a clean sound in a dirty hour. I stepped closer until his cologne smelled like a budget excuse. Alex said, "You will not touch my life again." He laughed. Thinner now, a ribbon cut by its own scissors. Ethan said, "You cannot control her choices." Alex said, "I can control my doors." The elevator stayed closed like a witness refusing to speak. Maya and Jordan rounded the corner and stopped, the air pulling tight. Alex said, "You will return what you took from my work, and you will stay out of my home." He tried a final smirk and lost it in the glass. The lights hummed, and the floor found my feet. Security pulled the footage, and pixels became testimony, steady and merciless. Alex said, "We look where memory lies." The guard scrubbed the timeline, and night stitched together like a harsh quilt. There they were, near the east door, a touch too long to be accidental. Alex said, "No more debate." Lily stared at the screen, as if glare could erase frames already burned in. Ethan kept his eyes on the floor, and the bravado leaked out like a punctured tire. Maya said, "You both will put in statements." Jordan's sigh was the sound of a loyal heart, giving up on neat endings. Alex said, "You may keep your version, and I will keep the truth that does not blink." The guard paused on a still where betrayal looked almost mundane. Alex said, "Ordinary is the cruelest costume." The room smelled of stale coffee and raincoats. I signed a report and felt my name return to my own hand. Alex said, "I will not carry your secrets one step more." Home felt like a museum of a life that had closed, and I moved through rooms as if alarms might ring. Alex said, "This place deserves honest breath." I laid an overnight bag open and gave it purpose. The list on the table waited like a lighthouse refusing to dim. Lily stood at the doorway, clutching a sweater that was not defense. Lily said, "Can we rebuild?" The question sounded like someone else's line read too late. Alex said, "Not while the wreckage is still smoking." I folded shirts that had known easier mornings. Lily said, "I can end it and prove it." Alex said, "Endings do not resurrect trust." The window held a smear of city light, like a scar that would not fade. I set the keys on the counter where our laughter used to hang. Alex said, I will find a place where my name does not need proof. She pressed her mouth to a sorry that did not alter gravity. Alex said, I am choosing me now. The zipper closed, and the sound was a door learning its job. Morning slipped in quiet and did not ask permission. Alex said, begin again, even if it shakes. The sublet smelled of soap and cardboard, honest and small. I placed the envelope with spare keys on the table like a farewell. Alex said, you kept the door open too long. I booked a counseling slot and took a breath that reached my heels. Alex said, grief can ride, but not steer. The calendar pinged, but this time it sounded like help. I messaged Maya and Jordan, a simple thank you. Alex said, you are not a ruin, you are a rebuild. The city answered with sirens that faded into space I could finally use. Par scheduled a meeting, and Consequence took a seat first. Ethan stared at the table like it might defend him. Alex said, I want distance, and I want my hours back. Maya slid her notes across with measured care. Maya said, the pattern is clear. He shifted, losing height without moving. Alex said, you knew what you risked, and you risked me. The manager asked for calm, and the room obeyed. Ethan said, we were careless, not cruel. Alex said, careless is a mask for cruelty that likes mirrors. The policy spoke, cold and precise, and the echoes felt like repairs beginning. At lunch, the diner hummed with forks and small victories. Jordan said, you look taller today. Alex said, I just put some weight down. The coffee was bitter and tasted like a wake. Maya said, healing is boring work, and that is why it works. I laughed, soft and grateful for the ordinary. Alex said, I will move in a week, and I will keep moving. Jordan said, we have a spare couch if plans wobble. I nodded and let the kindness land. Alex said, thank you for standing when I fell. The bell over the door rang, and the world did not end. It only opened. We met by the river where wind kept words honest. Lily held the last set of keys like they were burning. Alex said, this is not revenge, this is release. She stared at the water and tried to fix it with silence. Lily said, I am sorry, and I hate that sorry is small. Alex said, small is what happens when truth comes late. A gull cut the sky like a signature being erased. She placed the keys in my palm and stepped back. Alex said, I hope you choose better for yourself. Her breath shook, but mine did not. We let the wind carry what neither of us could keep. I climbed to the rooftop and watched the city light its constellations of effort. Alex said, you survived the night and met the morning. The bag at my feet felt lighter than it looked. I called my own name and believed it. Alex said, dignity is breath you choose. The skyline answered with a hush that sounded like room. I thought of the list and how it had turned into a door. Alex said, you choose you, and that is the hardest mercy. The wind pressed a hand to my back instead of my face. Alex said, you did not think I would ever find out, did you? Then I turned toward whatever would not lie to me.